Alrighty. I hope this is working. Hi, Northridge Middle
Yay!
School Band. So we're doing an e-learning here where I've asked my friend, Miss Laura Dian. How do you say your last name?
Dianiska.
Okay, that's how I was going to say it. Miss Laura Dianiska. She lives. Where do you live, Miss Laura Dianiska?
I live in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay, so this is kind of cool. Because of the coronavirus thing, y'all, we're able to. I'm reconnecting with some people. I met Laura many years ago, but we'll talk about that later. And so I see you're holding an instrument there. What is that? Can you tell everyone what that is?
Yeah, this is my viola. Her name is Gemma, by the way. And so viola is my primary instrument, but when I was going through my music ed degree in college, I did learn how to play all of the instruments. And I can make a sound on brass, woodwind, and percussion instruments, but it's not a good sound, and nobody really wants to hear it. So I stuck with strings.
Right? Yeah. I'm also licensed to teach strings, but it has been quite a while since I've actually held anything. And I did cello. Because no one else wanted to carry like a big cello for practicing, and I was like, "Come on, cello's cool." So I did the cello. Anyway, so what we're gonna do, everyone, is we're going to talk about music that is in movies, because the 7th and 8th graders, you guys have some movie themes that we're going to be playing at our next concert, and so I thought this would be a cool opportunity for us. So the first one I wanted to look at is the Chronicles of Narnia. The 7th graders are playing. There's two themes I want to look at. One of them is the Evacuation of London. That's the one that starts at measure 5, 7th graders. And so when composers are writing music, what they got to do is they got to find not only a good theme, a good melody, that sort of thing, but they got to find the right instrumentation. So this melody, I think, is great for string instruments. So I've asked Miss Dianiska if she could play this Evacuation of London theme for us. Go ahead, whenever you're ready.
Do you mind if I use my metronome really fast?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. She got this music about half an hour ago, so she's being a sport.
How can you best see me? How about there?
Yeah, that's good. Yay! All right, awesome. Thank you. Cool. So so the reason why that is in the movies, why that's in the string section, is because the strings can evoke like a warmer sort of tone. If you ever watch like a movie where they're being really emotional, it's probably a string instrument. And we'll give you an example. So this is what it would sound like if it were on the trumpet. I have to go way back there because I don't want to blow out the microphone. So the reason it's not on I got my saxophone neck strap got caught in my trumpet. You don't have to worry about that though, do you, Mrs. Dianiska?
No.
Yeah. The reason why it's not good on a trumpet is because the trumpet's too much of a bright sound. It doesn't have the same kind of warm tones that a string does. So that same melody, I'm only going to play 4 bars of it though. Sounds like this. All right, got to get my lips buzzing. All right, so even though like I thought I made it sound okay. I don't know what would your music educator take be on that, Mrs. Dianiska?
I do agree with you. It is really bright sounding. But I mean, sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. Like exactly what you're saying, strings with vibrato, and the fact that I can move my bow slower and like make notes last like fuller, a little bit longer than with a breath, like a or a wind instrument with breath support. I do think that theme in particular does work better with strings because it does have that more emotion and it is a little bit warmer.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. You mentioned breath support. So that's one thing, obviously, that in our classes, in band classes, we have to worry about, especially like our phrasing. band people often like breathe every 2 bars, and gosh, that chops at the phrasing. And I always say, if you guys were playing a string instrument, you wouldn't have to worry about that. So that's cool that you mentioned that. The other theme that's in the Chronicles of Narnia is the main theme that happens like throughout the movie. Sometimes it's played like by strings at more emotional parts, but like when it's the big battle, the strong sort of stuff, usually it's played by brass instrument, and specifically by French horns. John Williams loves French horn stuff when it comes to fanfare stuff. Yeah. So I'm going to play the main theme on my saxophone, actually. And the reason why I think it's going to work out on the saxophone is because I've told people before, the reason the saxophone was invented is they wanted a woodwind instrument that was as loud enough to be played with brass. And often, Mrs. Dionyska, you probably don't know this, because saxophones are not in orchestras.
Nope.
Except for, like, I think Stravinsky loved to write for saxophone, and was it Bizet? I think Bizet or Berlioz. Yeah. So anyway, but the saxophone is often paired with the French horn in bandland. So I'm going to play the main battle theme, and then I'm going to ask Mrs. Dionyska to play it as well, so you can see the difference between the two, why the instrumentation is chosen for those things. So just a second, let me go over there. And we'll see how this works out, too. My reed's been sitting here for about half an hour. We'll see if my reed responds. It starts off really low, too, so that'll be fun. All right, there we go. Now, Mrs. Dionyska, would you mind playing that same theme for us?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. So you could tell the difference between the two. The wind instrument, I feel like, had a little more power, a little more oomph. So for those parts of the movies, that's what they want to use. I'm going to throw this at you. Would you be willing to play that same thing, but like play it at a slower tempo? See if we can get a little emotion out of it. So it's the same notes, everyone, same exact notes, but let's see if she can get a different feel because of the tempo and the instrumentation change.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually, it had like more of a melancholy sound, even though it was the same notes. It was just, it was a little sadder, a little more, like I said, melancholy. That's kind of neat. So, so I've been doing a lot of talking. I want to give Mrs. Dionyska the chance to do some talking. So before we did this chat, I asked, hey, what movie stuff have you done with your students? And she mentioned some Harry Potter stuff. So can you talk about performing maybe like the Harry Potter music with your students? Putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, let's go. So yeah, we actually did an arrangement of 2 themes from Harry Potter for our winter concert in December. It was Hedwig's theme and Harry's Wondrous World. And my kids all know that I love Harry Potter an obscene amount for a grown-up. And we actually had our spring trip last year, which actually wasn't in the spring, it was in February. We took a trip to Universal Studios in Hollywood in California. It's like a 5 or 6 hour drive, not very far from Las Vegas. And we actually had like a day at Universal Studios where all I did was sit in the 3 broomsticks and cry the whole day, and all of our technicians were there, and it was amazing. And so my kids all know that I love Harry Potter, and so when we were like kind of picking music for our winter concert in just last winter, we sight read this arrangement that I had, and I was like, some parts of it I really liked, and some parts of it I didn't really love, and so I ended up kind of like doing my own arrangement of it, kind of rewriting the arrangement that I had to best fit like my own kids, because I knew that certain things would work with my kids and certain things would like not fit well with them. So that was a really cool experience for all of us for me especially, to figure out, like, knowing my kids well enough to know what would work for them and being able to like change what we had to make it fit them was really, really good. And it gave them a better sense of like, oh, like this is just for me. This is like special to me. And so we had a really, really great experience preparing that and performing it. It was a really big hit. We played it for our fifth grade recruitment like performance too, and so all the fifth graders really loved it too. So hopefully they'll all sign up for orchestra next year.
Yeah, where are you planning on using the Indiana Jones theme that the eighth graders are playing? We're planning on using that as our recruitment thing. Yeah. So yeah, we choosing stuff that the kids will like, that they recognize. That's a big thing for recruiting. So, well, so speaking of Harry Potter, we've got to talk about this. We've got to let them know. So we actually met through Harry Potter, right?
Yep.
So it was, gosh, probably like 2009, 2000. Did you go to the first Rockstock?
No, I didn't go to the first one. The first one was in 2008, I think.
Yeah,
and I went in 2009. I know it's 2009 because I have a hoodie from it.
Okay. So we met over 10 years ago. Yeah, I know. Can you believe that? And yeah. So we met through music, actually. We went to a Harry Potter festival where we got to hear a bunch of people play music about Harry Potter. You guys know probably that I have a band called Neville's Diary that I play in. So we met through that, and it's been over 10 years, and Mrs. Dianeska and I, we're still chatting. We're still talking to each other, and we're Facebook friends, and I see the cool stuff she's doing with her students and that kind of thing. So it's kind of neat how music has it's kind of universal. Everyone, we can. It doesn't matter where you are on the planet. Music can bring people together, and I think this is a good example of that. So, just something neat. Yeah. So, Mrs. Dianeska, what do you think makes a good movie theme? I've got some things written down here that I'll talk about, but what do you think? Like when you go to see a movie and you leave the theater saying, "Oh my gosh, that music was so good." What are some of those things that made it so good?
I think if you can remember it later, I think that makes a huge impact. And if it like kind of gets at the emotion of the scene that it's in, like, and it can heighten that emotion, I think that's really, really effective.
Yeah, I think a lot of music in the movies now is basically just a bunch of sound effects. Like you'll notice that they all write the same kind of thing. Hey, let's have a whole bunch of really, really long notes being held, and we'll have a whole bunch of drums going behind it if it's supposed to be like an action thing. We'll have a whole bunch of long notes, but maybe, like I said, on strings if it wants to be more emotional. But it's, again, just sound effects. I remember watching, obviously, Harry Potter has great music. Chronicles of Narnia, I remember watching that, walking out of theaters and singing that main theme from the battle. But one that's more recent that you might know, students, is I loved sitting in the theater during Rogue One. There's actually a moment, it was a battle moment too. That's the thing, is during the battle moment, I actually realized, oh my gosh, this is like an orchestral thing. This isn't just sound effects. This is really well written stuff. And to take me out of a battle sequence, to make me realize the music, I was like, good heavens, that guy knew how to write. And that's Michael Giacchino who wrote that music. Goodness. Yeah, so he wrote music for, these are movies you guys might know. The Incredibles. Up. I think he won an Oscar for Up. And then I'm a big fan of Lost. That was a whole long time ago though, so most of the students don't know that show, but just I remember watching that movie and thinking, my gosh, this is such great music. And like I said, to take me out of the action sequence, that's really cool. Anything else you want to say about that before we move on to our next topic, about just like what makes a good movie theme?
I think I heard a quote, or I read a quote once that said, nobody ever hums a lyric. And I think that's like the most interesting thing, because it is absolutely accurate. You can like sing songs in your head and remember lyrics, and lyrics have weight and they have meaning, but nobody ever hums a lyric. Like you get the music of it stuck in your head and like an earworm, but I just think, I thought that quote has always been so interesting to me, and I just try to keep it in mind when I'm watching like TV shows or movies that have really good music. I'm like, nobody hums a lyric.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta say this though, because I know that I'll catch a lot of flack from my students, but I've since we're stuck inside, what I've been doing a lot is I started watching the Marvel movies from the beginning, and I'm watching them in chronological order, not release order. And
Oh, yeah.
while I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, the kids have said to me several times, hey, let's play music from the Avengers. And so I've looked and I've tried to find arrangements.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do it. I don't think that there's enough there. And watching all these movies again, that's exactly what you just said. Like, do you hum it? I cannot right now hum the Avengers theme. I can't.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough to it. Yeah, in the moment when you see all the action and all that stuff, it's really great. But I think if you take away all that action, what are you left with? You're just left with
Yeah.
sounds as opposed
It is
to
pretty rhythmic. That Avengers theme is like, it's more rhythmic than melodic. Yeah.
yeah. And it's repetitive too. It's the same. I think it's almost actually kind of like Narnia, where it's got that dotted half note followed by 2/8. I think it's that, but it does that over and over and over again, and that melody stays the same, and then like the harmonies change below it. But anyway, we're getting pretty intense there. We could talk about that kind of stuff maybe in a later video. Talk about composition and that sort of thing. So anyway, we'll end this one with talking about what the song the 8th graders are playing, which is Indiana Jones. And I mean, Indiana Jones, what came out in 1983, Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think. And
oh my God,
that shows you, I think, the staying power of that theme, that music, because it is now 2020. And if I started playing Indiana Jones, people would instantly know, hey, that's Indiana Jones. So I think that's another thing that makes good movie music is, I mean, it's got staying power. It's got that melody. It's got that inherent thing that makes you want to hear it some more, and it's instantly recognizable. So we're going to play the main theme for you. I'm going to try and play it on the trumpet. Now, I haven't been... So all you people who know about warming up and why we'd spend time warming up, this is why. I'm going to go grab that trumpet right now cold, and it goes up to on top of the staff, an F on top of the staff. And I can hit those just fine, but maybe not after I've been chatting for a while. So here's the Indiana Jones theme. So if I mess up, it'll actually be better than if I did it correctly, because it'll be funnier. So here we go. I did it. I cracked a little bit, but I actually hit the notes. All right, cool. So that's the... Let me get closer here. That's the main theme. So that is always played as a brass fanfare, even the way it's written, that heroic dun dun dun, that kind of heroic sort of thing. That's why it's written in the brass. Mrs. Dianeska, do you mind playing that main theme for us?
Yeah.
So this is what it would sound like if it was on the strings. This is why it's written for the trumpets mostly. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, I think like she played it just fine, but the thing was, you were like, yeah, that doesn't get the image of a guy with a big fedora and a whip going and like jumping over gorges and getting almost crushed by doors and seeing aliens. I don't know. How did you feel about? Did you watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? Did you ever see that one?
No, I have not.
Okay, no, it's awesome. It's really great until you get to the end, and then it takes you to like they introduce like beings from another dimension. And so it like kind of takes you. Yeah, it kind of takes you out of
like,
the.
I might be good. I might be okay to skip that one.
But seriously, everything except for the last like 10 minutes is exactly what you want from an indie movie. Oh my gosh, it's really great. Yeah,
well, I've got a lot of time on my hands, so I'll add it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you can. I think I was watching. That was one of the first ones I watched when I got stuck in quarantine, and I was like doing laundry. I'm like, I'm gonna watch the Indiana Jones movie. So I'm like doing chores, and I saw that one again. I was like, yeah, you know what? This is a good movie. Till the end, it gets a little weird, but I'll forgive it because everything else is great. So we're gonna try this now. We're gonna see how this works out. So Miss Dianeska's in Nevada. I'm here in Indiana, and we're going to try and do a duet for you. I'm going to play the counter melody, and she's going to play the melody. Now, I don't know how this is going to work out if there's any lag, so this could be really horrible sounding, and that's kind of exciting It
Yeah.
because especially if it sounds great, the payoff is going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing. So we're going to try something, and I just realized I'm probably going to have to get close to the microphone because I won't be able to hear you play. So
Yeah.
I'll try and play soft so that it doesn't get too loud. So let me go get my stuff really quick.
Cool.
All right. So the way this we haven't talked about this either yet, students. So the way this works out is you have bum ba dun dun the call, and then I have a response. So it's I'm trying to get to the camera. Bum ba dun dun bum ba dun 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 bum ba dun bum ba dun bum.
Okay.
So it's like that. So whatever speed you start playing, I'll just join you later.
Cool.
Okay. So let me turn my volume up here. So I can hear you better. All right. We also don't know if we're in tune or not. So because
It's going to be a fun adventure.
yeah, because in another interesting thing, what note do you guys normally tune to? A? Is that your typical?
A, yeah.
So B flat is a typical band note that we tune to. So if I say, hey, let's tune, I'd have to play a note that's not 100% typical for band. So we're just going to go with it. And it's going to be awesome. I know it's going to be awesome. So, all right, whenever you're ready. Hey, I don't know. It sounded good to me. How did it sound to you?
Sounded good to me.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess we'll find out later on what it sounded like all together. All righty. Well, that's it for this little discussion. I hope that you guys, students, learned some stuff about music and the movies and what makes it great and that sort of stuff. And everyone say thank you to Miss Dianeska. Did you hear them all the way from Indiana? Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, hopefully this worked out great, and maybe we'll try it again in the future for something else. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Yay.
All right. So now I got to figure out how to end my Screencastify. Oh, there we go.